Sarah's giving me the signal. We're back. It's Bernina Canada Live. Just going to wait for everybody to join in. We're talking about embroidery today, and hopefully to get everybody inspired to try some embroidery on their sewing machines. So let me check and see that I'm connected, and we'll get started. See if my new computer works. We're almost there. Hope everyone's having a great day. It is lovely here in Ontario. It was a beautiful day, and now it's suddenly overcast, and that's great because then I don't have to water the plants. I'm hoping for a little bit of afternoon rain. The grass has been cut and fertilized, so let's just hope for rain. That would be great. So I see everybody joining in here. Let me just check who has joined in. Gail and Kathy, oh, my faithful people, thank you for coming in. I'm glad you're having fun in Calgary, Gail. It's glad to have nice weather out there. It's great. I'm waiting for Linda. She's supposed to be here. Let's see what's happening. What else is happening? I'm hopefully gonna get a new microphone next week, so the sound will be even better. Thanks for the comments. I'm looking for more ideas for more videos. I have 100 ideas, but I want to know what you want for videos. So if you have ideas, feel free to type them in. But today we are going to talk about embroidery, and specifically machine embroidery, and what Bernina sewing machine with embroidery can do for you. So I'm just going to double check. Alan's here. Okay, we can start. Okay, good. Thanks, Alan. Christine's here. Judy. Hey, Judy. How you doing from New Zealand? Great to see you. And I see Christine from the UK. Okay, so all our regulars are here. That's amazing. That's great. My name is, I forgot to introduce myself again. My name is Adrienne, and I'm an educator from Bernina, Canada. It is my job to show people what they can do with their sewing machines. I have probably the best job in the world, but don't tell my boss, okay? I have to tell him that it's hard work. So you're in on this with me, don't tell him. So today's focus is embroidery. The reason that we're having this conversation today is because I've been receiving a lot of emails and telephone calls about people asking about embroidery. So for example, I've had a couple people say, I've had my embroidery module in the box for 2 years. Why should I get it out? So today that'll answer that, because of course it's fun. That's why you should get it out. And other people are looking to upgrade their sewing machine, and they're thinking, should I add embroidery to the sewing machine, or should I buy a sewing machine that is embroidery capable and embroidery could be added later? So these are all important questions to think about when you're upgrading your sewing machine. But primarily today we want to get people who have embroidery machines using them and having as much fun as I've been having the last 5 years with my machine. So without further ado, we'll get started. Don't know why this is frozen. Alrighty, I'm going to trust everybody is seeing everything. I see Sabine from Manitoba, and Alan, and Alan's being silly, and Paul. So Paul's here, that's great. All right, so let's talk about different types of embroidery and what an embroidery machine can do for you. So I'm going to get Sarah to zoom down on the table. We've got a nice sample here. This is the very first thing I ever embroidered on my sewing machine, embroidery machine, named Gladys. You guys have met Gladys. She's sitting behind me. And the first thing I tried was lettering, and that's very common. We want to do monogramming or lettering or quilt labels. That's a very common task that we want to ask of our embroidery machine. Everything's still going, Sarah? All right. And you can see that this was a built-in font from my machine, and I love this font, and Sarah loved this pillowcase. She's actually kind of loved it to death. It's getting a little bit worn. And you can see I was new to embroidery, and there's actually some problems with this embroidery. I did not stabilize this well enough, and it resulted in a bunch of puckering because this was a very thick satin stitch based lettering, and it's kind of grabbed to the fibers and wanting to pull the pillowcase together. And we've washed this, to be honest, in hot water many times, and it has shrunk. So there are some issues with this pillowcase, and the reason I showed this to you is because I want you to know that your first attempt might not be perfect. I tried really hard with this, and Sarah admits that she loved this pillowcase. She didn't know there's problems with it, and we were both delighted with this. And as we go on in our embroidery adventure, we get better and better and better. I don't know if any of you have had any issues like this, right? So maybe you had problems. I know Linda Murphy, you have never had problems like this. Hey, and I see Carolyn from Calgary and Marie as well from Quebec. So that's great. So what I want to show you is that I did get better. I did get better. And now my lettering looks something like this. So you can see the lettering is nice and smooth, and I don't have the puckering. So look, as you go along, you're going to get better. You're going to learn your sewing machine. You're going to learn how to deal with different threads and fabrics and stabilizers. So hang in there. Call your Bernina dealer. Get them to help you improve your technique. So lettering is certainly something that we start out with, often one of the very first projects we do. And as you get better and better, you'll eventually move on to something like this. This is a cool towel that I just made. This is an OESD design. OESD is onlineembroidery.com. They have lots of great designs. This one I think is from their sister company called Scissortail Stitches, and it comes from a collection called Punny Kitchen. Isn't that hilarious? I can't wait to make more of these towels. But you can see it's got some great lettering and stitching as well. And I just bought this design and stitched it out. Couldn't be simpler. And then as you get better and better with your technique, you can try something a little bit more complicated, like these are my new shoes with my new monograms right on the tongues. And this is a bit more of a complicated sew because you need to know how to handle hooping a shoe, which can be done creatively. So look for more techniques like this. I'm going to put some tutorials in our Pinterest page so you can learn to do monograms and deal with trickier and unusual fabrics as well. So lettering and monogramming is a huge area of embroidery, and I hope you'll give it a try. And shoot any questions you have about lettering and embroidery and monogramming to me anytime. I'd love to answer them. So then another type of embroidery is just using some built-in designs that come with your machine, or purchasing a design and just straight stitching it out on fabric. So this is a little Bernina pin cushion with an old Bernina logo on it. So cute. And it was just stitched on black fabric and then made into a pin cushion. And this was actually done all in the hoop. And I'll talk about in the hoop in a second. And then this was a design purchased from, I think, Urban Threads. And it says Trick or Treat. And then that was stitched into a little bag as well. Really cute. Simple to do. You just purchase the design for a couple of dollars and stitch it out and make a project. So that's a pretty simple thing to do. You can also stitch onto clothing. So here's a pair of jeans that we added some embroidery to. Isn't that cool? So this jean was probably opened up on this very simple seam and then hooped here, and then the stitching was done as well. I was going to show you my jean jacket, but it's not finished yet. Let me just say it's worth waiting for. It might be a Tulip Ink design. I'm just putting that out there. So that's another thing. It's just a simple design purchased and placed several times and done on a purchased pre-made item. And of course you can go a little bit further and add crystals to your design if it calls for that. This is actually an applique design because you can see there's some fabric underneath the stitching. The advantage to an applique design is now that purple petal is done quickly with the fabric. I don't have to sit and wait for all the purple stitches to go out. So that's the advantage of applique, is it applies color very quickly. It's a very effective technique. I love doing a lot of applique. This one is a two-sided bag. I'm going to flip it. Check this one out. Isn't that cool? And look at this one, even has some freestanding petals. How nice is that? So you can get really creative with embroidery. It adds a lot of dimension having those freestanding petals. So that's something else you can do with embroidery. And then as you get more and more advanced in your embroidery, you can make heirloom. This is an heirloom kind of christening dress. And there's a really beautiful design here done on this linen fabric. So you've got to know how to stabilize linen properly. I would use a spray adhesive probably just to secure it. And what is really nice on this dress is it features a continuous embroidery border. Do you see that? So this is just a really beautiful border, got heirloom quality stitching. It's joined together. There is a join here, but it's very difficult to see because this was expertly done by my friend Diane. So you can definitely use embroidery designs to create borders on linens and on garments as well. And then if you get a little bit crazier, you might want to try some more difficult fabrics. Oh, let me ask, Carolyn wants to ask a question about lettering. She says, when embroidering a quilt label with a text message that contains several words separated by spaces, do you clip the jump stitches between the letters in a word? So let's grab a word. Sorry, Carolyn. Here we go. So here, Carolyn, so imagine these actually had jump stitches between each letter, and I would clip the jump stitches on the front of your work, but I would leave the ones on the back there. They'll hold everything together with the knots and keep your work secure. So I hope that really helps you, Carolyn. All right. I see you, Gwen and Lorraine. Thanks for joining in. All right. And then when you're ready, you can embroider on some pretty funky surfaces. Check this one out. Can you see that? You've got some, I'm going to turn it sideways. It'll fit in the frame better. There you go. So it might be hard to see because this is framed, but this is an embroidery done on balsa wood. So this pansy in the center is stitched out very carefully on balsa wood. Isn't that cool? And I mean, you could stitch on paper as well. They actually stitched on the border here. I think it looks amazing with this framed border, and the embroidery is here on the paper border. I left my greeting cards. You can make embroidered greeting cards on cardstock, and I left mine at the office, but it's done in a very similar manner as this. So check that out. There's some great designs for greeting cards on embroideryonline.com. I know they have great ones. And if you're not up to trying to stitch through balsa wood is very thin. It's like a veneer, and it is possible to stitch through. What size needle would you use on a balsa wood? Kathy, I was just going to mention that. I would try a medium-sized needle. Too big, it might split the wood. Too small, it's going to shred the thread. So I would start with an 80. I think an 80 would work great with a 40 weight thread. What a great question. Kathy, you and I honestly share a brain. I think it's great. And the other thing you can embroider on is cork. We've been sewing on cork for a while now, and don't forget that you can certainly embroider on cork as well. Some people recommend a top stitch or leather needle to pierce through the cork. I don't even bother. I got to tell you, a universal needle works great on cork. It sews just like thick fabric. It's amazing. And this one was all constructed in the hoop. So all of this is embroidery. The eyelid is embroidery. The monogram is embroidery, and the construction is embroidery. So I'm never in sewing mode. It's all done in embroidery. And there's actually a clear pocket here. You can't see it, but my my business card usually sits in there. But we just changed offices, and I forgot to put my new one in there. So yeah, give cork a try. This design is from Pickle Pie Designs. She really does specialize in the hoop designs. That's Lisa Archer, and she is another Bernina ambassador. So try her designs. I have about 4 of her designs, including a needle minder that I have to make. So we have to get back together in a couple of months. I'll show you some other stuff that I made. So once you've tried something like that, I keep talking about in the hoop projects, and they are just like what they sound like. The entire project is made in the hoop. So here's another example. We did this as a sewing day at a couple of stores. This is a really nice OESD design. The zipper is put in the hoop. That's actually where you start. You start by inserting the zipper with your embroidery foot. It is the craziest thing the first time you do it, but after that it gets pretty, I don't know, that's a pretty normal thing for me to do now, is to put a zipper in using the embroidery machine. And then you switch over to the beautiful design, and then you construct the entire thing in your embroidery hoop. It's even lined. And you just turn it inside out, and you've got a fully made zippered pouch done with your embroidery machine. Pretty awesome. I hope some of you have tried some in the hoop patterns. This one is from the blank pouch collection. It's from OESD. So it's called the blank pouch, and then we added the zipper, the scissors file on top of that. Here's a similar one. This is like a, what do you call it? Pencil case. Using twill fabric. It's lined as well. Looks really cool. And just a thicker fabric zipper is put in, and then grommets put in at the end, and this can go right into your binder. So that's really cool. So that's an in the hoop project. Another example of an in the hoop project is a stuffy. You can make a little stuffy in the hoop. It is so much fun. Now, this little guy, first you embroider the entire design, and then you would sort of put the back on top of it and flip it inside out, and that's where he's put together. You can barely see it because this stuff is so fluffy. And what I wanted to mention with in the hoop designs is that you have to, you can make them different sizes. You can buy them different sizes. Don't enlarge them on your own. Buy the size that you need. So here's a much bigger one, and you have to use the appropriate hoop for the design. So what limits the size, the design size you can do is your hoop. Wow, I got there. So for example, the little blue monster, I don't know what his name is, he would fit very easily in the Bernina large hoop. That would be easy to construct it there. But this big monster really wouldn't fit in there. You would need a much larger hoop. So probably you would want this hoop. This is the Bernina Maxi hoop. So you'd actually need a bigger hoop than that. He doesn't quite fit. You would need the Bernina Jumbo hoop. So the hoop size, the maximum hoop size on your machine is truly, truly dictated by the arm size of your machine. So my big 8 series machine is 12 inches from the needle to the right of the machine. So I can have an amazingly large hoop that's about 10 inches wide. This is the jumbo hoop, and that's what this one would have been made in. So when you're looking for an embroidery machine, you really want to consider what is the maximum hoop size that you can attach to your machine. And Alan says a hula hoop would work great, but I would love to attach a hula hoop to my machine. That would be really fun. Yeah, I really love making these funny monsters. I think they're great, right, Ali? These are fantastic. Yeah, Kathy's thinking about making golf bags and head covers using in the hoop designs. That would be really cool. And you can embroider the numbers and stuff on them, Kathy. That would be really cool. So that's in the hoop designs. That's kind of what they can do. And now I just wanted to show you some advanced techniques, just because All right, so today I realized I didn't have a cut work sample, so I just made one real quick. And cut work refers to the fact that some of the fabric is actually cut away. So what you can see here is I started by embroidering this corner of this napkin, and then I cut away part of the fabric and it continued the embroidery without the fabric there. This is a sort of a lace technique. I'll show you lace in a moment. And then cut work itself is kind of these holes, right? And you can have this, sometimes the cut work is actually right in the fabric. And it's usually bordered by satin stitching, this thick stitching, to hold the fabric in place. So cut work is something you can certainly do with an embroidery machine. It's an amazing, amazing technique. Another fun technique that you can do, this is called, it just went out of my head, stump work. I got it, it came back. We're covering so much ground today, it's hard to remember everything. So this is called stump work, and these are actually 3D. See how these are 3D? And there's a wire going around each petal. It's covered over in satin stitch, and then there's fabric, and the purple is thread covering over it as well. So stump work is really cool because you get these 3D effects, and I can really manipulate this to any shape I want. Maybe this flower got really curled up, right? So that's stump work, and if I turn it over, you'll be able to see, oh no, Diane cleaned it up. She did a really pretty embroidery on top, but you can see there's one little wire poking out, and that's, the wires are all tied to the back and covered over with another embroidery. So that's called stump work. You can buy files that are ready to do stump work, or you can design your own stump work files using Bernina software to create something like that. And then I wanted to show you this really cool design. It's just the butterfly in the middle that I want, the dragonfly, excuse me, in the middle I wanted to show you. Can you see it here, how it's really puffed up? It's actually hard. It's thick, thick, thick with thread. And this is kind of like trapunto, where it's built up, and the way that this is stitched out is sort of a thin line is stitched out, and then it's stitched over multiple times to make it thicker and thicker and thicker. And this is a really cool traditional technique made modern in this way. And you can buy files that are already prepared like this, or again, you can use Bernina embroidery software to make these built up trapunto files. Another similar effect is to layer puffy foam underneath, and that's how sometimes you get that really puffy lettering, like on a logo hat in particular. I saw one the other day for the New York Yankees. Boo! I'm a Blue Jays fan, not a Yankees fan, but they use puffy foam to really kind of make the lettering stand out. So check out that technique if you ever get a chance, puffy foam or trapunto. Oh, and Linda says she loves my stylus. Linda, this is a custom-made stylus from Everett Wood Designs, and he makes custom stylus, and I thought this is my treat to myself, so thanks for noticing. All right, and another fun effect. So those are all files you can purchase yourself, and then I'm going to show you lace work. I changed my mind because I can. So the thing I'm currently obsessed with right now is making freestanding lace. So these designs, there's a little mermaid here, there's a dragon, there's a peacock, there's a feather. Look how great they are. These are bookmark designs. They're designed to be bookmarks. And the original design actually has 3 colors. It's like an ombre effect. But the class that we were teaching, we didn't have time for that, so we did them in 1 color. And this is only thread. There's no fabric in there. It's only made of thread. And if you want to do a lace design, you just need a lace file, something that's got the grid that's going to support all those stitches when you wash away the stabilizer. And I'll show you how that's done. You stitch out the design on this wash away stabilizer. Oh, I've got this upside down. These are my hanging bats. Aren't they so cute? And my little bat here. I know, Allie, I love this, and I love Halloween, so I have lots of Halloween stuff. So these are stitched out, and then when they wash away, they look just like this. Oh, here's the big mama bat. See, isn't that cool? And you wash it away. If you kind of leave a little bit of this stabilizer in, that really helps to make it stiff, because I want this stiff to be able to hang it as an ornament. But you could make lace in the same way. Al, you're killing me here. No, I'm joking. Keep doing it. You're making me laugh. You can make lace in this same way and apply it to a garment or a pillow or something. Let your machine make lace. That's really cool, right? And it comes in so many different configurations, right? I've got scary cats, and I've got spiders, and all kinds of great things. If you get a little bit crazy like I do, my other hobby is puzzles, and my kids hate puzzles, but I like sewing in puzzles. And finally, my dream came true, and I got to do puzzles and sewing together. So this is a 3D lace pattern as well. And this is called Vintage Sewing Machine by OESD. And isn't it cool? There's no fabric in this. It's all just thread. Is that closer and better, Sarah? And you see it's put together with these small little buttonettes, they call them. So there's buttonholes and buttonettes, and you pull them through. Has anybody tried making one of these 3D designs? So at the office, my Jay, who works in the tech department, he loves this design so much he wants one made in black, and I started it 2 years ago and I haven't finished. But this one is made to represent the 125 golden machine that we had the other year, and it was just so much fun to make. So again, that's really just the exact same technique as the spider, but it's little puzzle pieces all put together. If you want to go a little bit farther to the next step, you could do what's called freestanding lace applique. So this has all fabric in it. This is a Tulip Ink design. This is her freestanding unicorn. How cool is it? And again, it's just made in pieces on fabric and stabilizer, and then it's put together. So it's very similar to the sewing machine, except this does use a stabilizer that stays in permanently and some fabric to hold it together. Isn't that cool? Oh, Gwen is working on OESD's Christmas Village, which is done in this exact same technique. Way to go, Gwen. And Linda was asking, the vintage sewing machine is from, and it's design number 12698. If you type in vintage sewing machine, it pops up as the first thing in that design at Embroidery Online. And then Gwen, I was so tempted to make the Christmas Village, but I just couldn't do it because I knew I wouldn't get all those buildings done. So I started work on this one. This is the gingerbread house, and look, I got the lights to go on in here. Check that out. And this is done in the same technique. Again, it's got the freestanding applique, so it's got lots of fabric here on the base, but then parts are lace. Can you see there's kind of lace? Do you want me to come closer? It's okay. Can you see the lace? So there's bits of lace up here and the windows. I'm going to turn this so you can see some of the detail. This is my favorite. I love this side with the candy cane. Isn't that cute? Yeah. And there's so much nice detail. Like the roof is beautiful. The roof was just so much fun to stitch out. These little buttons are separate, so you could make extra buttons. I just made a few to go on there. There's the front door. Can you see that? And this goes together in that same way with the buttonettes. Cool, right? So I hope you guys will try a 3D freestanding lace structure. I think it would be really fun to do. Gwen, you've made most of them, huh? The Christmas Village. I guess I got to get started. I can't wait to do that one. All right. So then if you've gone beyond that and you want to start to design your own embroidery, you can do that too. This is a little kitty cat, and it's been converted to embroidery from a photograph. And you can do this in about 7 or 8 clicks of the mouse using Bernina embroidery software. So it sure is a lot of fun. Oh, Carolyn was asking me how long the gingerbread house took. It's only about 7 large pieces and then a little bit of the candies. So I think each large piece took about 45 minutes. So it was probably a 5-hour sewing out project. I did it over 2 days while answering emails, Carolyn. It was a lot of fun. Yep. So this little kitty cat is done using Bernina embroidery software. It's a photograph converted into stitches. So you can certainly do things like that with embroidery. What else can you do with embroidery? Oh, so we were talking a little bit about hoop size. So this is again a design that would fit in the jumbo hoop or the maxi, no, the jumbo hoop. I'll get that out. There you go. All right, but sometimes you have a design that is even bigger than the hoop. So what can you do about that? Oh, Alan says the photo thing works well in software. Great. Oh, that's good to know. I meant to do one, Alan, of my dog just because I'm not really a cat person. I like cats, but I love dogs. So I got to work on a picture of Penny. So what can you do if you want to do a design that is much bigger than just one hoop? And we do something called multi-hooping. And I'm going to show a big quilt now. Sorry to Sarah. Apologies to Sarah. So do you see this design? Sorry, I'm behind the design now. Don't I look lovely? This is called The Dress, and it's by Cherry Tree Quilts out west. And normally this is done in applique. Where the blue is, this is usually done in fabric. But my friend Diane got permission from the artist to convert it in software. So this is just a fill of stitches. Yep, multi-hoop it. That's what we're going to do, Allie. And that's exactly what Diane did. So she had to hoop this about 6 times to get it done. So she had a hooping here, a hooping here, a hooping here, and a couple of hoopings at the bottom. It took about 6 hoopings. So you can certainly make an embroidery bigger than your hoop. You just have to be able to multi-hoop it, for sure. Yeah, and Allie is reminding us, you can enlarge and shrink designs to fit it into your hoop, but it's not recommended to change it on your sewing machine by up or down more than 20%. If you were to expand this by more than 20%, you might see gaps between the stitches, and the stitches are just going to get larger. It's not going to calculate more stitches, it's just going to stretch out the stitches. And if you shrink it a lot more than 20%, the stitches get really, really tiny, and they just don't look very attractive. They kind of pile up on each other. You could get a lot of jams, and it just generally doesn't look good. So I've been saving the best for last because I always say I'm a quilter, but I need to change that because I think now I'm an embroiderer. But if you are a quilter, what can you do in embroidery that's related to quilting? So I'm just going to grab a couple of samples here. I had so many samples, I couldn't fit them all on the table, Sarah. Sorry. All right, so this is a couple of, mug rugs or coasters, and they're actually pieced in the hoop. So first we did all of the piecing, sort of like a flip and turn or stitch and flip technique, where you sew it down, flip it over, add the next piece and flip it over. And this is a really fun way to do piecing in the hoop. And then it's embroidered after, and then we did a pillowcase finish. So everything again was done in the hoop. And those are available from OESD as well, Embroidery Online. So you can certainly piece in the hoop, but can you quilt in the hoop? Sure, why not? This is a really cute quilt where the piecing was all done on a regular sewing machine. And then the embroidery or the quilting was done by selecting an embroidery design. So the quilt was just hooped, no stabilizer required because there's batting in there that acts as a stabilizer, and then the embroidery acts as quilting. So you could definitely quilt an entire quilt like this. We've done it before. I'll show you the back. I would select a very open design. You don't want a super dense design, but you can see on the back it looks just as nice. It looks great. So it's a really cool way to do that. So that's one way you can quilt a quilt. Let me move this out of the way because it's getting a little bulky for Sarah to be able to take a nice photograph. I just get so excited. I want to show you all the stuff all at once. Okay. So this is a different quilt. This one I quilted. It's by Tulip Ink. I'm going to put it on here like this. There you go. And you can see that I constructed the quilt top, and then I sandwiched it together, and then each block was sort of hooped individually and stitched out. And so each one used pinpoint positioning, which is available, pinpoint placement, which was available in the Bernina 700. That's the one I used. And I could easily just quickly center it using pinpoint placement. If you don't have pinpoint placement, there's a bajillion ways that you can properly position your blocks. You can use templates, you can use the check feature that we have, you can use the hoop templates. There's a lot of different ways that you can certainly align your quilting perfectly in the hoop. And then similarly, it was done on the border the same way. This was kind of one hooping and then another hooping. So really fun way to quilt. It looks very good on the back as well. It quilts all the way through. So really fun thing to do. That's the Tulip Ink collection. Linda, funny that you mentioned that. Linda has an 880, so she'll be able to do that exact technique on her 880 Plus now. She upgraded from an 830 and now has an 880, so she can use pinpoint placement. So those are some of the things you can do with quilting. You can, and I have one more quilt to show you. This is an oldie that I made. It's a really old quilt. So this was done in strips. So this was done in 5 strips. You only see a couple here, but it was done in 5. And a hooping is sort of this area here. And you cut this blue strip, you cut this all in strips and just worked your way down the strip, aligning them at this point. And it was a lot of fun. This was, yeah, Judy says it looks like the shells we made in the course. Yeah. So this was done on a Craftsy online class, and each strip is made and then it's just joined together with the quilt as you go method. This is a 1-inch binding, so I think we started out with a 1.5-inch binding, and it's put together the same in the front and the back. Yeah, and then just bound. So whether you do home dec or crafts or gifts or doodads, there's certainly a lot of things that an embroidery machine can do for you. And another day, hopefully, we'll talk about design works, where you can get your embroidery machine to paint, make crystal templates for you, or cut out designs for you. It's really amazing. It's called Design Works. I'll show you that one week. All of the information I talked about today, all of the techniques, are available in the Bernina Big Book of Embroidery. So if you do get a chance to take a look at that or order that through your Bernina dealer, it's a really great resource. It talks about everything from hooping and storing hoops to how to change colors and all kinds of great things in this book. This is a great resource for anybody who's doing embroidery. What else did I want to talk to you about? Oh yeah, I wanted to remind you that we have a new set of machines on right now called the Bernina 70 series, and I just wanted to show you the hoops that they come with. They come with square hoops. So you actually get more design space with these large square hoops. They're huge. So that's the largest hoop that comes with a Bernina machine. And this is the largest hoop that comes with a Bernina machine. So the Bernina hoop is actually a lot bigger. So it's a really great value machine. If you're looking to add an embroidery machine to your stable of machines, you might want to consider the Bernina B70 or B90. It's a really great machine with a lot of versatility. It has 2 other hoops as well, a medium and a small. So great machines. Of course, the Berninas are my favorites. And you can get different hoops to fit your Bernina machine as well. They usually come with 2 or 3 hoops that are amazing to boot. So whether your project is big like this quilt, Or check out this cute little design I made today. This is like a little tiny, it's 1.5 inches tall by 1.5 inches wide. This is also from OESD, and they have like a little collection called Itty Bitty or something like that, or Mini. If you look up Mini Sewing Machine, this one comes up, and it's just the cutest thing. And I have this tiny little mini hoop that you can make into a keychain or a necklace or something like that, or a key fob. That would be awesome. So whether you embroider small or large, an embroidery machine can certainly give a lot of impact to your fashion, your home deck work, or your quilting. And I look forward to seeing what you guys create, you ladies, gents, and everything in between, create with your machines. And I look forward to seeing you next week. I'll bring you some more inspiration. See you then.